This episode is sponsored by Shutterstock.com. With over 20 million high-quality stock photos, illustrations, vectors, and video clips, Shutterstock helps you take your creative projects to the next level. For 30% off your new account, go to Shutterstock.com and use offer code GAMEBREAKER6. This episode is also brought to you by Audible. For a free 30-day trial and to receive a free audiobook, just head on over to audible.com/gamebreaker.
Gamebreaker TV.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to episode 5 of Derpy Dragon. I'm just rocking out to this new song. I've never used this intro song before. It's definitely awesome. I like it. It's different. It's different for me. As you can tell, I am not Gary Gannon. He is away. He's been out of town all week. I've been covering for him. My name is Mike Schaffnitz. Today is June 30th, 2013. Coming up on today's, this morning's, whatever time it is, wherever you live. Coming up on the show. The night is dark and full of terrors in Aion. Neverwinter doesn't need to compete with WoW, and RuneScape is clearly the greatest. All that and more, but first, you guys know him, you guys love him. Right here on Derpy Dragon, it's the one and only co-host with the mo-host. I don't even know what I'm saying anymore. Mr. Mike Byrne.
Howdy, sir. How are you?
Great, how are you?
I didn't know where you were going with that one anymore.
Sometimes I just do. Oh, wait.
Apparently, chat thinks we look like brothers, though. So
cool. Internet bros. Internet bro. Oh wait. Internet bro fist bump. No. Yeah. All right. I'm just gonna stop these antics. I know you guys hate me for it, so I'm just gonna move right on into the show and spare you guys. Aion 4. Aion, right?
Aion.
I always had the ability of saying Aion when my ex-girlfriend started playing it. But
and
Aion
everybody does both, but they officially on their
who comes up with
say
silent
Aion.
A's? Who comes up with silent A's? Aion 4.0, aka Dark Betrayal, launched this week in America. Unfortunately, European fans actually have to wait until August to receive the complete update. Now, Mike, do we know why this delay is? This obviously kind of sucks for anyone over in the European market.
Yeah, it stinks. NA is already up and running. The main reason for it, at least the public reason for it, is since they use GameForge as the publisher over there, not NCSoft. It was a separate localization procedure. Lots of new quest text and things like that with the level cap increase. And it's not just English, they also do a French and a German translation too. So that's the public reason. I don't know if there's anything behind the scenes, but publicly it's pure localization in multiple languages.
Now there are obviously some pretty big selling points of this update, and it's actually a free update if I'm not mistaken, right?
It is. It is. How do you sell something that's free?
It's crazy. What are the selling points of it?
Well, if you've been playing Aion for a long time, it's a level cap increase from 60 to 65. So that's huge for players that have been in there for a long time. New zone to go with the new quests. New skills for all existing classes. 11 instances in the NA release. There'll probably be 6 or 7 when it goes live in the EU. And then the remainders will come in the following update. But most importantly, 2 new classes, which Aion has never done in 4 years. There has not been a class added. Now we've added 2. We were gonna get 3, but the third one wasn't quite ready to go, and so it's gonna be put in later. So if you want to play a bard or a gunner, a technist or a muse, it depends on where you're at in the world as to what they're called. But basically, a bard and a gunner class have been added.
And I mean,
so
adding
huge updates.
Adding 2 classes alone at once is pretty unusual, isn't it? I mean,
yeah.
Especially outside of a full-blown expansion, they're giving 2 new classes in just an update.
Yeah, and that's where you would normally see it, right? That's when WoW does it. That's when other big guys do it.
And they do it one at a time.
They throw them in on an expansion. And yeah, right. Normally one at a time, or maybe one for each faction. In Aion, they're dropping 2, and it's their biggest update to date, but they're still classifying it as an update, not an expansion, even though we've gone from 3 to 4.
Now, have you actually had any opportunity to jump in and try any of these new classes out?
I did. In addition to like all that, as if all that wasn't enough, Mike. But wait, there's more.
But wait!
But wait! For the low payment of 0, they've also revamped a lot of the UI. In particular, character creation has been streamlined. Aion, if you've never tried it, take a look at the that game we posted the day 4.0 was being installed. It's known for its character creator and how fully customizable that bad boy is. So they've kind of streamlined that just to make it a little more user-friendly. They've also done some menus and queuing things as well throughout the system. I did check out the Muse. In NA, it's the Muse. I played that for a little while through the starting areas. You still have the ability, even in the new classes, to flip over to the fast-track servers so that you can double your XP rate and kind of catch up. But some of the potions that you may have bought in the past on the cash shop that will automatically give you like 10 or 20% of your level experience, those have obviously been removed. NCSoft wants you to level these the right way, even if you use the fast-track server. I'm kind of digging the Muse. I'm going to try the Technist out a little later today or tomorrow. Unfortunately, if you don't have a level-capped character, this update is extremely endgame heavy. So besides the new classes and some revamping on some UIs, you may not notice much as you start off. All the instances are post-60. The new zones are post-60. So it's going to be funny that we just talked about this a little while ago. It's going to be get through the leveling game as fast as you can because everything they've added is pretty much an end game.
Right. Do you think that's tough? I mean, games that have that and try and reintroduce people with updates, do you think that they maybe suffer because they put a lot of stuff on the back end for the people that are still playing the game, but then it almost to an extent maybe neglects the people who are looking in, like, oh, this cool new update. Oh, wait, I can't experience it until I play for 6-7 months or a week or two.
Yeah, and it definitely does. I mean, there's a certain turnoff in, man, I'm still, and it doesn't matter what game, man, I'm not at level cap, and look at all this stuff. They're adding new raids, and they're doing this, and man, I really want to check that out, but I can't. I'm level 22. So I think the 2 new classes is a nice balance, where if you've never played the game before, or you played for a month or 2 and then stopped, there is something new for you as far as new skills for existing classes and new classes. There is something new. And they have tons of content already for you as you level. This extra stuff is just on the end to keep those endgame players still in the game. I think they did a nice balance here. If they didn't put the new classes in, I would say there's nothing in here that sells it to a brand new player that wasn't already there. The 2 new classes is a nice balancing factor.
How do you think that what they've added stacks up to the previous updates that Aion has given?
Largest to date. It's
that's
very
a bold
easy.
statement. Largest
to date, and it's 4 years. The game's 4 years old, and we're seeing the largest content update to date.
Jeez. Do you think that for now, like if anybody has not maybe tried to try out the game, or maybe they have and they just wasn't for them, is now a really good time for people to jump back into the game?
Have you ever played, Mike?
I actually haven't. My ex-girlfriend at the time was made the switch from World of Warcraft to Aion. I saw the systems in place. It didn't really interest me, and I never got around to playing it. So, I mean, now is a perfect opportunity with all these new updates, and it could be really great for me to jump in and play.
It definitely is. And if you're like you said, you checked it out way back when it first launched. Somebody else played it. It was sub-based back then. If that was the last time you checked it out, and it probably was for a lot of people, you definitely need to at least jump back in if you were somewhat vaguely interested in it. When it launched, it suffered from being very Eastern flavored as far as monster grinding being the core mechanic. As it went free to play a while ago, they converted a lot of those systems over. You have a little bit of a grind, but it's now a quest grind, which is a little more Western flavor for us. So you do have quests that you can keep doing to level instead of just going out and killing monsters. They've added the fast track server where if you have a friend that's 15 or 20 levels above you, you can log into the game, and it's more of an instance than a server. Don't misunderstand the word server. You don't sign into and build your character on fast track and then you're stuck there. You pick a normal server, and then you basically flip the channel whenever you want to. And you'll be fast-tracked and gaining more experience, and when you catch up to your buddy, you can flip back and not be getting the fast-track experience anymore. So you have options as far as that. And then you have all this new endgame content. So it's received quite a few updates. If you haven't checked it out since it initially launched and was very Eastern-flavored as far as mob grind,
yes.
if you're mildly interested, check it out. Check it out.
All right. Well, and to do that, it's really simple, guys. All you got to do is head on over to FreeToPlay.tv, and we'll provide you a nice, awesome download link, and you guys can check out all of the cool updates that have gone into Aion. So be sure to do that. FreeToPlay.tv.
Right, Rick's right in chat. I didn't even mention housing. Housing.
Oh,
housing.
You want
to build a house and then sell it? Go for it. They allow you to do that type of stuff where you're selling your player housing. There's different levels from shacks to mansions all the way that you can build on up and earn and buy and then sell the bad boy and do it all over again with something else. Yes, there's tons of stuff.
Do these awesome houses have balconies where I can like put all of my awesome gear out on a balcony and everybody who walks by and be like the envy of everyone in the middle of town? Do they?
Chef Knits Shacket. Yeah. Yes, you can have balconies on some of the higher model housing, yeah.
All right.
So you can look out on all the peasants in Aion.
Bask in all of my awesome. All right, let's move on here. Cryptic's Craig. Oh my goodness.
You know what? It would be better if that was his name, though.
Cryptic Craig.
How cool would that be? You could mention.
Cryptic Craig.
How you doing? I'm Cryptic Craig.
That's now his name. I'm gonna butcher his last name, and I'm just gonna avoid the embarrassment by just calling him Cryptic Craig. Spoke to Red Bull UK about Neverwinter. Here's what he had to say. I mean, come on, chat room. Anybody watching this, can you say that name? No, so don't judge me. He went on and had exactly
Zinkovich. Maybe it's a German Zinkovich.
Craig had this to say. He said, frankly, we're not trying to compete with World of Warcraft. Anyone whose goal is lightning in a bottle is not being realistic. Don't get me wrong, we'd love to have the success WoW earned over the years of hard work, but our immediate goal is simple and attainable. Operate a fun game people like to play and want to come back to. We make that game free so it's fun. There's no reason not to play and come back. I think it's pretty safe to say that gone are the days that people actually publicly go after World of Warcraft, right? And you with Star Wars: The Old Republic was probably the last people to do it. They're like, we're going to be the last subscription MMO. We're going to... I mean, I don't think they really came out and said, we're going to knock World of Warcraft down, but no one's really willing to try and take that throne from them anymore.
I'm sure the cats over at Blizzard right now are like, okay, we thought they were coming after us. Oh, all right, guys. Free weekends off now for the next couple of months. We're fine. Neverwinter's not aiming for us. Yeah, I don't think it's just a stupid marketing thing. It's been done so many times, and every single time it comes up bad for whoever's making the claims of knocking Blizzard and World of Warcraft off the throne. One, I don't even think Blizzard could do World of Warcraft again in this day and age. There was, like he said, lightning in a bottle, right time, right place, right combination of things. So it'd be a little hard to duplicate it even for Blizzard. And then on the other side of this, anytime you put that out there, your entire game, all the feedback on it is on every media site is why you aren't WoW or why you aren't as good as WoW, instead of what does your game offer and what are the opportunities for the game. So no, I think we're going to see that more and more just go away.
I mean, it's definitely the right approach. You kind of have to concentrate on the short term of your design, and even like we've talked about this with WildStar and even maybe a little bit of Rift, where having your expectations for what your subscriber base or even your player base needs to be for your business model to be successful doesn't have to be the millions that World of Warcraft achieves. If you zero in and target in on a more manageable number and hit that and go above and beyond what you're looking to hit, your game is more successful because of it.
Yep, and even the Old Republic, before they launched, they said, look, they put it out there. We need 500,000 people. If we have 500,000 subscribers, we are more than profitable enough to do all the things we want to do with the game. So yeah, you're right. You don't need the 1, the 5, the 8, the 12 million. It'd be great if you got to that point. Then everybody's getting bonuses, but it's definitely go into it. And it sounds like Cryptic is going into it knowing this is what we need. That number is not 9 million. So we're not even going to try to compete with that type of tight. See what I did there? That Titan Blizzard.
You don't. No, you can't. You're just not. Don't you give me that look. I mean, the thing here with free to play though is it's definitely it's both a strength and a weakness in that sense for free to play games. On one hand, they're obviously accessible both on the other, and then they're also kind of less sticky of a game than subscription games.
Yeah, I agree. No, I'll give you a little more than that. When Gary and I talked about a similar topic maybe a few weeks ago on Derpy, I made the statement that we all love free-to-play games, but when we find that one we really, really, really like, we wish it was sub-based, right? we all kind of do that, and you're exactly right. It's for that reason that there's no real reason to stay. And Neverwinter in particular is having challenges right now at max level. And I'll admit the 1 through 60 experience is actually pretty fun. A little repetitive, but that's okay. We're kind of used to that type of repetition. It'd be nice to see a little more diversity, and maybe it'll change things up. But when you hit the level cap, there's really a shortage of things to do. And so that stick factor, especially since I didn't pay $15 to play it this month, there's nothing for me to do. Let me go download Aion 4.0, who just launched the biggest content update they've ever had, and let me go check that out for a while. So yeah, it's a double-edged sword that you really have to take into account. What are we going to offer people long-term so that they stay and hopefully spend money along the way?
Yeah, because I mean, free-to-play games it's so easy. MMO subscriptions are a commitment. When you're playing, you're in it. Yeah, and
Yep.
that is your MMO. But if a free-to-play game comes along and you play for a week and you're like, this isn't what I want to do, or I got some friends playing over here right now, there's no barrier to entry. You'll just pick up and you can be fickle with it, not necessarily not ever avoiding coming back, but you can jump around at the freedom. And if you're not committed to it, you might not ever put any money down.
Yeah, and the player themselves, the MMO player, has changed. Think back to when you got into MMOs, not your very first MMO, but maybe a year or two after you started playing that first MMO. Think of how many MMOs you played at the time. It's a pretty easy answer for 99% of us.
1.
Right? And now none of us are like that. Almost none of even WoW people that are still paying a sub and still heavily invested in World of Warcraft are probably playing 2, 3, 4 MMOs, some of them free, some of them sub. At one point, I had 5 subs active at once for a period of 4 or 5 months, which was absurd when you think about it, because I can't possibly invest that amount of time into 4 or 5 of them. But that's just the way we play it now. We have a general hop from one game to another, regardless of whether it's free or sub. Free just makes it easier to do that hop.
And I mean, obviously, on the money front, there's no real reason not to come back. That's just the thing and that's what makes free to play so awesome and accessible, I think, to everyone who wants to play. Real quick, I want to tell you guys about an awesome. Go ahead.
I was going to say, he also made a weird comment in this interview too. It was like a 1-sentence snippet where he said, Neverwinter. He was talking about the whole free to play subscription thing. And he made the comment, Neverwinter is the first AAA MMO that was designed from the ground up to be free to play. He's making the comparison to a lot of subs going free to play. But To me, there was just a lot of things wrong with that statement.
It seems like a very presumptuous statement, and I mean, I guess I guess what are the AAA MMOs that have come out in the last few years? We've got Star Wars: The Old Republic. We've got Guild Wars.
And to be fair, that doesn't meet his requirement because it was not designed to be free to play at the beginning.
We've had Guild Wars come out.
Beat that one. Buy to play, so a different market.
What I mean, have there been any other AAA MMOs that have
he used
launched?
the term MMO first off, not MMORPG. And so when he says just MMOs designed to be free to play in the West, AAA, immediately I think Planetside 2. I mean, it's hard to argue that Planetside 2 isn't a AAA MMO experience. It might not be your type of game, but I think it's certainly a AAA experience. And then not only on that side, where maybe there's a couple other games that fit the category, I think there's an argument that maybe Neverwinter isn't even AAA. And I don't say that in a derogatory sense. I'm talking about as far as funding and advertising and the idea of a AAA, which is such a vague term anyway.
Do you think they classified as AAA simply because it's Dungeons and Dragons?
And it sounds better. You're not going to say our single A MMO. It's the first single or double A. You're the best player in minor league baseball. Okay, good. But then the final part of that is designed from the ground up to be a free-to-play MMO. It wasn't even designed at the beginning to be an MMO, period, let alone free-to-play. It started as a co-op RPG, and then Perfect World bought Cryptic and said, make this an MMO. So it's like there's a whole lot wrong with that sentence, and I was like, don't call attention.
So they didn't even start designing it as a free to play MMO, as what you just said. Like they're making that statement, and they're basic they're lying.
Built it as a co-op RPG when they were by themselves, and then during the Perfect World acquisition, they said, we're going to take some of these things that you've done, but we're going to make this an MMO now, and so everything that doesn't fit the MMO mold, strike it. And keep the things that do work, and let's remold it and everything. So it wasn't even designed as an MMO initially from the ground up, let alone a free-to-play MMO. So it was a very weird interview.
All right, so real quick, I want to tell you guys about an awesome sponsor that we have over at Shutterstock.com. It's an amazing service that I've used many, many times in my adventures, I guess you'll call them, in the video industry, production, graphic works. They have an amazing resource of stock footage, illustrations, photos, vector arts. You know, as we've been telling you guys for a couple weeks now, you know, it's pivotal to what goes on at FreeToPlayTV. We use their icons and vectors all of the time for our custom images. I've used them a lot. You know, this isn't actually one that I've used, but if you guys are doing any green screen work, the Shutterstock's got great images for set design behind you. I mean, if you don't want to just put yourself over gameplay, you want to maybe create a set behind you, you can green screen out and grab any of these Shutterstock images. But another thing that I actually did was I had to organize a whole bunch of stock footage for trains, cranes, plane landings, and that's also, you know, as I said, we've been doing a lot of images at Shutterstock. Shutterstock also has a whole entire video footage section. So, you know, I came over here and I searched in plane, and you could just get a whole bunch of different options of video for planes landing, and it's an amazing resource in the creative field to have access to these high quality images. You can't make this stuff on your own. You know, some of it's real, some of it's real footage. This is obviously a digital render, but having the access to this as a creative is such an amazing tool. And all you guys have to do is head on over to Shutterstock.com, and if you use the promotion code GameBreaker6, you'll get 30% off your new account. So now is if you haven't done it now, it's a better time than ever to check out Shutterstock.com. Moving on here, we are... What's up?
I'm sorry. Chat room just said, update on the Neverwinter site. Neverwinter is now the best minivan in its class.
Hey, someone should make that image. I'm just saying here. You know, Shutterstock.com, minivan. Boom. We want a vector. Oh, wait, we don't want footage. We want a vector.
Oh,
we're going to go over here. We're going to go to vectors. We're going to hit search. Oh, wait, that's still industrial. Minivan. Boom. All right. Someone go make an image using some Shutterstock images with Neverwinter, the best minivan in its class. Just telling you, do it. And you guys can get 30% off using Game Breaker code 6. All right, moving on. RuneScape. Gosh, that word is just a blast from the past. It's one of the oldest free-to-play success stories and more successful now than ever. Mike, I am betting, I'm betting RuneScape was actually the first MMO a lot of viewers played. You've checked it out in the past, right?
Oh yeah, I mean I've never become heavily invested in it like some cats have, but yes, spend a fair amount of time in RuneScape. I think it was probably second or third on my list, my personal MMO playing list, and when I started. But yeah, I've spent a ton of time in RuneScape because you can.
It's ridiculous. It's ridiculous. And that was one, I never personally got involved in RuneScape, but as I mentioned before in previous shows, my first MMO was Tibia, and I can't tell you the amount of social chat, like, you should just go play RuneScape. Everyone, come play RuneScape. It was huge. And I felt like it went away, but clearly it's more successful than it's ever been. That's ridiculous. And it's how old is this game?
Very old.
Jeez.
Like old.
Old, like Gary
like
old.
Boom, boom.
Oh.
And when
Pulling
the
those
cat's
zingers
away,
when he
the mice will play.
Jagex, which is one of the biggest developers in the UK, announced their most successful year to date, earning 50 million British pounds. At over a decade old.
That's like what? 400 million US dollars. I don't even know the conversion anymore. Man, that's a ton of cash.
That's incredible for a free-to-play game that I'm sure a lot of people nowadays have taken the time to jump in and just go, nope, not gonna play it. Too old, too dated, and walked away. 50 million. I said 50 million British pounds. Are you kidding me?
That's a lot of pounds.
Jeez. All right. So, I mean, as you can tell, it's actually really surprising. And don't get me wrong, even though I know a lot of people who have jumped in and turned their nose up at it, it is a good game, and a good game will last a really long time. But what's really surprising by this news is that 10 years later, it's more profitable than it ever has been. How do you do that?
I mean, they've done so much work on this game. Now, there's certainly going to be the chat argument in forums and things like that RuneScape isn't technically free to play because there's certain limitations without subscribing or doing some of their membership options, and that's fine. That's a valid argument. So yes, it is going to be making some money, but this is still a staggering number for the amount that you can do in there without spending any money. And the reason they're able to do this is because we're going to use some terms here. We're going to RuneScape 2 and the upcoming RuneScape 3. Yes, hardcore RuneScape fans are going to yell at me for saying 2 and 3. But there's an important distinction I want to put on these. RuneScape 2 is when it went 3D. That was a huge jump, right? I mean, they could have literally shut the game down and made a new game. But they opted to keep the culture and the user base that they had and update to RuneScape 2 and put it into 3D. With RuneScape 3, it's moving over to HTML5 and infinitely better graphic presentation, UI presentation. They've made some missteps along the way. There are people that hate the Combat Evolved update and things like that, kind of similar to Star Wars Galaxies in that respect, where the combat tweak is one of the biggest things that divides the people that love it and hate it. But it's because of the sheer amount of their willingness to stick with this one game and improve it over time rather than bring it to a close and bring out a sequel that has led to somebody sticking with this for 10 years and giving them money every single month to do it. It's a testament to Jagex and their development team and their investors that are willing to do that rather than put out a new product.
What would you say? What would you say to people who are looking at what they've done now? Is it worth taking the time back to play if you have or haven't played in the past? Maybe you played originally and you put it down. Is it worth jumping back in there and taking a look at what they're doing?
This one's hard. I mean, Aion, I told you definitely yes, especially if the last time you looked at it was when it first launched and you didn't like the Eastern grindy flavor. This one's a little harder with RuneScape. I would say if you've never tried it, you probably want to wait until RuneScape 3 goes live, just so you don't log in instantly and go, this looks terrible and outdated, I don't want to have anything to do with it. At least, so the visual aspect is a little more pleasant for you, wait till RuneScape 3. If you've played it before and fallen out, it's also one of those games that's really hard to get back into. You can remember how invested you were in Tibia, but if you went and played it right now, I doubt you would be anywhere near as invested or play it as long. And
Not
you
true.
kind of have the same thing going.
I'm totally playing it right now and completely invested. I did not realize how much I loved that game. And I said it last time on Twemo. It has its flaws by all means, but there's something about that. And I honest to God, thought it was rose-colored glasses, and I feel like RuneScape might have this too. It's systems in place, and I talked about this on Twemo. Are what I want out of an MMO, and I can forgive some of the flaws within the game because that's the type of MMO that I want to be existing in. That's the type of MMO I want to be playing.
Then RuneScape is probably worth a look in your case because you're already putting on those glasses that say, you know what, it is a bit of a grind, and that's just the nature of this game. I'm okay with that. Because I like these different systems, these crafting systems, the leveling system, things like that. RuneScape is a bit of a grind. It's an older base game. EverQuest is still a grind if you jump in today. If you've never played it before, jump in at RuneScape 3, give it a shot. If you've played it before, then yes, I would encourage you to jump in. If you never liked it in the past, I don't think, though, that they're doing enough that's going to capture your attention and make you like it if you already decided you did.
Fair enough. Well, if you guys want to go check it out, be sure to check it out on FreeToPlay.tv. We got download links all over that for free-to-play games, and you can check it out right now, so be sure to head on over there. I'd say click the link, but it's probably not going to actually take you anywhere. So just type that into your URL and check out all the awesome shows that are going to be over there as well. Moving on here. Planetside 2 has actually launched in China to even bigger numbers. We're just free-to-play games just blowing up. Like, all right, so a tweet from SOE President John Smedley confirms the Chinese release had bigger numbers than the US in just 8 hours.
China has a boatload of people.
Oh.
Breaking!
Oh!
You heard it here first.
That's including the numbers, though, of the U.S. launch, not just the numbers in Planetside 2 today, correct?
Yeah, and somebody had asked him that, are you comparing it to China launch day versus America launch day, or are you comparing China launch day to today's numbers in America? And Smedley did clarify both. It beat both numbers.
Now, I mean, it's obvious, but if you want to be a big name in the MMO space, you have to go to the East, right?
Oh, of course. Plus 1 billion people, almost 1/6 of the world's population, or 1/5, depending on what areas you're counting in. Yeah, you have to. Now, can you? There's a bunch of challenges with it, but you definitely want to try to get in there. Consoles, still a problem in China, but they're trying, and legislation may be changing on that one, so keep your eye on that if you haven't. But yeah, it's definitely a market you need to crack into if you like money.
Is this if you like money, is this a pretty good sign that you think that SOE is going to be pretty much following suit with games like EverQuest next?
Good question. I think they'll try. I don't know how well it'll do. Keep in mind, EverQuest 1 and EverQuest 2 did release in China for short periods of time.
Mm-hmm.
But they were closed down very quickly, and people were migrated to North American servers, which virtually made it unplayable for Chinese EverQuest players. I would assume, yes, that Sony's going to try. Usually, at least with EverQuest 1 and 2, they used a different company to publish, either Ubisoft or Gamania, depending on whether you're looking at EQ 1 or 2. So they really haven't published themselves in there. They usually get a third party to do it. So I'm sure they'll try with EQ Next, but how long it stays there, I don't know. Looking at EQ 1 and 2, if history tells us anything, probably not all that long.
Now, all this talk, Mike, about these amazing games from our past has got me thinking. Do you remember any awesome books from your childhood? Think of a childhood book. What pops up?
I love The Mouse and the Motorcycle.
The Mouse?
Beverly Cleary?
Don't remember that one.
I mean, I'm talking.
I know,
like
I know Beverly
when I was
Clearly.
Like 10 or 11. Yeah.
Well, I know
Ramona
Beverly Clearly.
was that whole series.
For me, I was thinking about this just before we went live. Chicken Soup for the Soul. I don't know why that was what popped in my head. I think Silverstein was another one, but Chicken Soup for the Soul was all over the place. And there was a lot of like inspirational, motivational stories, accounts. And what does this have to do with anything? Well, we actually have an awesome sponsor with Audible.com. And if you guys head on over to Audible.com, you'll get a free audiobook and a free trial of their service for 30 days. And guess what they got? A whole bunch of Chicken Soup for the Soul. That's right. Audiobooks. You know, and here's I think what's great for audiobooks like Chicken Soup for the Soul. You know, Gary has talked about opportunities where he's been driving around, listening to, you know, something like Game of Thrones or, you know, the World of Warcraft books on Audible. Those are really long investments. Those have had him driving around his house when he gets home just so that he can finish the audiobook. But the nice part, if you do like an audiobook with Chicken Soup for the Soul, where they're just short snippet stories, you know, I can take the time and listen to one inspirational story on my drive to work. And then by the time I'm at work, I'm good. I'm inspired. I'm ready to move on. And you know what? I didn't even have to inconvenience my day. I'm not saying reading is the worst thing in the world, but I can get my inspirational story while going about my normal day. Sorry, I love it. I think it's great. And you guys would too. So all you guys had to do is head on over to audible.com. You'll not only get one free audiobook, but you'll also get free 30 days of their whole entire service so you can browse and check out. And I think actually, you don't even just get one free audiobook. You get one free audiobook every month with your subscription. So it practically pays for itself. And all you guys have to do is head on over to audible.com/gamebreaker. All right, last up here, Second Life has turned the ripe old age of 10 on June 23rd. So, all right, Mike, I talked with you a little bit about this before the show. We haven't.
Let me just tell you though, Chef, that was segue like a mouse right there. That really was.
you gotta figure that stuff out. You gotta figure out how to get into it, get out of it, and move on. Here's the thing. All right, so we haven't talked about Second Life a lot. I haven't really talked about it at all on this show because this is my first time. So let's start it off by talking a little bit about Second Life. Now, I talked to you a little bit about this before the show because I was actually, I'm a stranger to Second Life, but I guess it's a really dark place full of penises.
Yeah, I can see how you might do that on a Google search. That things might get a little weird there. Yeah, Second Life, for you not familiar with the game, we talked earlier about sandbox and theme park and things like that. And I know Second Life players may tell me that I'm oversimplifying the explanation, and I definitely am. But to keep the idea simple, if you've never played Second Life, imagine a chat room, an online chat room that takes place in a three-dimensional world instead of through text boxes. And that's pretty much what you have. It's literally a big sandbox. Go and hang out with who you want. Go to little special events that maybe, you know, Mike Schaffnet at his place that he built, he's going to have a book reading party from Audible, and all you will log into Second Life and head on over, and they'll press play on Audible. And
Audible.com/gamebreaker.
/gamebreaker. It's very all about the interaction and the community and the people playing it. Are there some dark places in Second Life? Of course, and that's because our world has some very dark places in it. There can be rooms full of penises or peni or I'm not really sure of the plural on that one.
Is the plural peanut? I don't know. I don't even want to think about it. No, I don't even want to
there are
acknowledge
those types of groups, of course, but yeah, it focuses on you creating and building and selling things back and forth to different players. But think very highly interactive chat room where you can find like-minded souls to do just about anything.
Just about anything. All right. So before this gets crazy and I go down a rabbit hole I don't want to know about, Linden Labs, the developers, have put out an infograph that's boasting numbers that 9 out of 10 games would kill for. 36 million accounts created. Now, to put that in perspective, World of Tanks hit 60 million last week.
Yep.
It's ridiculous. 36 million accounts have been created.
Yep. And that's impressive. Even, set aside the fact that of those 36 million, the high majority are playing with free accounts. That really doesn't matter. We're not talking income here. We're talking sheer exposure. That's a huge number. And you think, okay, well, it's pretty old, so yeah, you could probably accumulate that many accounts over any given period of time. But they're still at 1 million users logging in each month.
Users, whether you're paying or not, is an asset. Because here's the thing, and this is this is the exact approach that with League of Legends, Guild Wars. I haven't paid a dime on my account for League of Legends, not a one. But I've introduced people to League of Legends because I'm like, hey, come play with me, and they spent a lot of money on it. I still brought money to the company. I am still a valuable asset.
Yeah, and even if I didn't bring a friend, I play League of Legends again. Never spend a dime in League of Legends, but I am useful to the community in the respect that I'm cannon fodder for everybody else. And therefore, I make the environment a better place for other people to play. And we do that with all free-to-play MMOs. It doesn't matter if you pay to play Star Wars. By you being in the game, you provide more of a vibrant community and an extra personality for people that are paying to play the game. You make it easier to queue up for things because you're an extra body. So even not spending money doesn't mean that you're worthless to the company. You definitely provide an asset to them. Totally agree, Chef.
So this comes to, let's see here, $3.2 billion in transactions between users, that's astronomical to think about. Over 1 million users that are logging in monthly for a 10-year-old game. This isn't something that just hit the market. This isn't the hottest thing. This is a 10-year-old game. People complain about how dated World of Warcraft feels, and that's going on 8, I believe. 10-year-old game, and it's $3.2 million in transactions, 1 million logging on monthly. That's incredible.
Yeah. It's huge. There's staggering numbers. And you don't even think about it, really, until you read or look at the infographic, because you may have heard of Second Life, and you go, oh, yeah, that's an online thing. You don't even think about it, but, man, that's just... Ugh. And because it provides a different type of service, a different type of experience, and people are quite willing to pay for it and jump into it because there's a market for that experience and has been for a decade now.
What do you think that says with user created content? It's clearly a sustainable platform. We talked about this on Twimo with Sandbox versus Theme Park. I think people just in general like the idea of creating their own content within the game that other people that like-minded individuals can participate in.
Or somebody will buy off of them or trade them something else that they want for it. That's huge, and we're seeing a lot more of that in traditional MMOs and MMORPGs, right? We're seeing player housing come to a point where WildStar is trying to go crazy with it and have it impact a lot of things like raid buffs and things like that. Rift has with their dimensions, which, again, they're going to be putting in an update soon that makes those a little more... useful than just cosmetic. There's certainly a market for I want to create and I want to see what you can create at the same time. And we're friends, and I'm not going to let you create something better than me. Now we're paying to play a game, and we're not even playing the game. We're competing with each other on something nobody else cares about. So yeah, user-generated content, I think, is going to just continue to get bigger and bigger, and Second Life kind of proves that point, doesn't it?
Absolutely. I think that we're going to definitely see more games that become solely focused on this. You know, new graphics and new shiny polish will obviously come as the industry, as the technology gets better. But I think I hope that we're going to start seeing a new level of intricacy to MMOs, that it kind of bring it back to an environment and a community. How about this? You know, although not an MMO, did you see Microsoft was actually showing off Project Spark at E3?
Yes. And if you haven't checked out the trailer, I mean, it's only like a minute or two long on their site. It's definitely worth checking out. It's all user content from what I understand, right?
Yeah.
And it looks like a pretty amped up Game Globe, a free-to-play game from Square Enix and Big Point. Well, not so much Big Point anymore. They're leaving. But with the user-generated levels and things like that, it looks like a more grown-up Game Globe. So go check out Game Globe and then go look at the Spark trailer, Project Spark trailer, and just imagine once people get their development hands on that. I'm really excited about Project Spark.
Here's the one thing, though. User-generated content isn't just the end-all, be-all answer, I don't think. What about, I believe it's EverQuest that has the Forge, if I'm not mistaken, the Dungeon Forge? I don't know if that quite creates the environment that we're specifically talking about. I think the instances that we brought up are good examples, but I think the one thing I just kind of want to touch on before we head out is that it's not just the idea of user-generated content. That doesn't sustain it.
And we're kind of seeing that with Neverwinter and the Foundry, right?
Yes. So I don't know. I mean, it'll be interesting. I'm really, really excited to see where it's going. We've talked about this now on two different shows about how, you know, we want to see things a little bit more sandboxy, not necessarily this theme park ride, and it'll be interesting. I'm really excited to see where the industry takes us within the next couple of years. It's exciting. Mike Byrne, you can follow him right down there at Mike Byrne, or not Mike Byrne, at MagicMan1, Magic with a K, man with two N's, and a 1 at the end. Be sure to follow him over there. Check him out on Derpy Dragon every week. And this week in MMO. Great discussion over there, so check that out. You can follow me. I actually don't have mine, but you can follow me right at Mike Schaffnitz, if you can spell it, because I sure as heck couldn't spell that. So go try it if you can find me. Follow me over there. Gary will be back next week. He just took a vacation, so I was just filling in for him this week. Thank you guys so much for watching. Be sure to follow at GameBreaker TV and check us out. Actually, also follow at FreeToPlay. It's FreeToPlayTV, if I'm not mistaken, correct, Mike?
The Twitter is at F2P TV.
There you
go.
go.
Is FreeToPlayTV.
Check out F2P TV, and if you guys liked any of the games or were interested about any of the games that we talked about here on Derpy Dragon, you guys can just head on over to freetoplay.tv and download those games and try them out. We got some new shows that are coming up that I think you guys will be really excited for with some of these games, so keep it tuned right here to freetoplay.tv. We'll see you guys next time.